Hi, everyone, and welcome to this mini lecture on the purposes of education. Common sense suggests that the purpose of education is teaching and learning, right? But we are critical explorers and therefore must dig a bit deeper and ask some important questions. For instance, we learn there are different philosophies of education, ranging from more traditional to more progressive. We also spent some time on the history of education using the theoretical tool of interest convergence. We learned that our society had different and sometimes conflicting ideas about who should have access to education. It seems reasonable then that we would have different ideas about the purposes of education, right? We might ask, is education's purpose to prepare students for the work world? Or to be knowledgeable citizens in a free and democratic society, or maybe to move up in the world? For this topic, I've gathered two short videos for you. The first discusses Martin Luther King's vision about the purpose of education. The second is a young philosopher's thoughts on the purposes of education. Together with this mini lecture, I think they present a broad and mixed view of the different purposes for education people have in mind. In this mini lecture, I'll share a useful framework for thinking about the purpose of education based on the ideas of Stanford professor David Labery. Labery describes himself as a sociologically oriented historian of education who explores the tensions between education and society in the United States. In his article, Public Goods, Private Goods, The American Struggle Over Educational Goals, he describes three purposes of education. I've attached the article as optional reading this week. Let's take a look at Labery's ideas. To begin, Labery presents education as a public good, as a social institution created and sustained by and for the public. The goal of formal schooling, then, is to prepare people to be citizens. Labery suggests that, in order for a democracy to function, its citizens must learn about what a democracy is and what their responsibilities are. Labery's second purpose also views education for the public good, suggesting the purpose is social efficiency. Here, education is said to prepare people to become workers in the society so that society functions efficiently. And finally, Labery finds the purpose of education is also that of a private good. People use schooling as a means to secure good jobs and perhaps improve social positions. In sum, Labery writes about these purposes as a public good, education prepares citizens and workers, and as a private good, education enables people to become more socially mobile. These purposes are said to be competing because each seems to emphasize a different priority: the democracy, the society, or the individual. Of course, there are many nuances, and it could be argued that these needs are not competing, but complementary. So I'll leave you here with this important question: who benefits most from these three different purposes?